खरीदने का दाम है, देखने का दाम नहीं। It completely transformed the business. और जब बॉडी पे जो पैसा देखा, lost our stay, the shawl.
अपने एदिक से जाता है नमस्कार ক্যামেরা ব্লক করবে এটা কি চলছে হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ লাইভ এই সুদীপ তো
Are you two going to college next year? Piano আর আমাদের খুব বাচ্চা নেই মানে আমাদের সবচেয়ে ওই লেভেলে চলছে কোনো বাচ্চা কি খবর কেউ কি ফেসবুক লাইভ করছে বিরু anybody doing Facebook live you already started I don't see it
Yeah, when I started in the
Thanks for having the participation. It was really nice and really informative.
हाँ फेसबुक
আমি তো জানি না সে অনেক আমি দোকানে যাবো একটু আমি বলে হাফ এন আওয়ার আমি থাকছি তারপরে এদিকে আটকে গেলাম কোথায় গান শুরু করো তাড়াতাড়ি মাস করে গান করো কথা শোনা যাবে না
No.
বিশেষ করে আমাদের Guys, are you all ready? Guys, sound is not on.
Hello. Hello. Hello, my Christine. Hello. Hello. Hello, my Christine. Hello.
Hello. No, hello.
Mask down. Mask গুলো খুলে নেবে তো?
Hello. Hello.
Okay, are we ready to start?
Okay, everyone okay?
Hello. Hello.
Okay, chalo start. Are we live? Hello.
Together.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Welcome to our UGC's very own Independence Day celebration. These are, very first Independence Day celebration happening in our very own Banga Bhavan. So, welcome you all. So the agenda for today would be we'll have flag hoisting done by senior citizens and the kids of BAGC community, followed by the national anthems of both the countries. We'll have a short in a 2 minutes experience. Sanjay Roy, we are very fortunate to have him here. He's going to share his experience of the very first Indian independence celebration, which happened in 1947, August 15. So we are lucky to have him here and get his perspective and his experience on the unraveling of 1947 and the experiences. So with that, I would request we do have our guest of honor, Dipesh Chakrabarty. He's our historian. He's going to be renowned in the world for his historian work. So we'll have a Zoom live where he's going to share some anecdotes about Indian independence and the history. So with that, I would request all the seniors to kind of get ready for the flag hoisting and the kids to kickstart their international anthem. So welcome you all and wish you all a very happy 75th Indian Independence Day. So. Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streamed, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Thank you again. Thank you, friends. Bharat Mata Ki! Bharat Mata Ki! भारत माता की। Thank you, kids. Thank you for that awesome performance. Thank you. With that, I'd like to kind of introduce the kids who put up this effort today. So appreciate if you can wave your hands. We have Adrija Bhattacharya, Adrita, my bad, sorry, Anik Bhattacharya, Arnesh Rudra, Deeptasha Chakrabarty, Manjishta Sarkar, Olivia De, Raj Kashyap, Shiji Chatterjee, Zain Akin, keyboard Sanjana, Dipesh Chakrabarty for American National Anthem, very special. And just a minute. Yeah, I'm going to. It's my phone is locked.
Screen lock. Sorry for that. Yeah, the event, in terms of singing instructor, which was coordinated, it was Aditi Datta Bhattacharya. And thank you, Jumur Mashi, for your efforts in coordinating this major event. Thank you very much. With that, we're going to give 2 minutes to Sanjeev Da to kind of share his experiences on the 1947. Yeah.
সেদিন ছিল শুক্রবার 9th August 1947 আর আজকে সবে রবিবার, সুতরাং 3 দিন আগেকার ঘটনা। আমরা গেলাম স্কুল থেকে, স্কুলের বাস এলে, জেলখানার বাস আসলো স্কুল থেকে, সেই স্কুল বাসে চড়ে আমরা সবাই ক্লাস 2 এবং 3 এর বাচ্চারা সবাই গেলাম একসঙ্গে। সেখানে খানিকটা যাওয়ার পর প্রেসিডেন্টের বাড়ির কাছাকাছি যখন গিয়ে পৌঁছলাম, তখন বাসটা ওখানে দাঁড়িয়ে গেল এবং সমস্ত বাচ্চারা আমরা নেমে গেলাম, পরের স্কুলের বাচ্চারাও নামলো। আস্তে আস্তে প্রচুর লোকের ভিড় হলো। 2-3 মিনিট যায়, তারপরে 8:30 বাজলো। তারপরে হচ্ছে যে আমরা দেখছি কে আসছে আবার দেখলাম যে ঘোড়ার গাড়ি করে আমাদের প্রেসিডেন্ট সাহেব আসছেন। রাজেন্দ্র প্রসাদ আসছেন ঘোড়ার গাড়ি করে। সবাই হাত নাড়লো, আমরা আর কি করো, আমরাও হাত পাত নেড়ে দিলাম, ওইটাই হচ্ছে নিয়ম। তার আধ ঘন্টা বাদে নেহরুজি এলেন। নেহরুজি এলেন একটা বিরাট ব্যাপার, এটা নেহরুজিকে দেখাটাই একটা বিরাট জীবনের। হ্যাঁ, সে নেহরুজিকে আমরা দেখলাম, উনি গাড়ি করে গেলেন, গাড়ির হুডটা খোলা, উনি হাত নাড়তে নাড়তে গেলেন, আমরাও হাত নাড়লাম। তারপরে আসল লোক দেখলাম, কে দেখলাম একটা মেম সাহেব আছে, নাম জানি শুনেছি, লর্ড এন্ড লেডি মাউন্ট ব্যাটেন। মেম সাহেব দেখতেই তো আমরা ব্যস্ত, ঋষি লোক তো অনেক দেখেছি, কিন্তু মেম সাহেব দেখা না হলে জীবনই ব্যর্থ। সুতরাং মেম সাহেবকে দেখলাম, লর্ড এন্ড লেডি মাউন্ট ব্যাটেন। তারপরে সব স্কুলের ছেলেমেয়েরা যেখানে দাঁড়িয়ে আছে সেখানে সব ঠোঙা এলো। ঠোঙা এসে কি হলো, একটা ইন্ডিয়ার ফ্ল্যাগের রঙের ঠোঙা, তাতে লজেন্স, গোল গোল লজেন্স, 3 রঙের লজেন্স দেয়া, আর তার সঙ্গে একটা করে লাড্ডু আর লজেন্স, সেইটা এলো। প্রত্যেকে আমরা পেলাম, এবং তার সঙ্গে সঙ্গে একটা বড় গোল চাকতি কপারের, তাতে সত্যমেব জয়তে লেখা, আর ফ্ল্যাগটা পথ করে উঠছে ওই ছবিটা। সেই ছবিটা নিয়ে লম্বা দড়ি দেওয়া ছিল, আমরা যে যার পারলাম গলায় পরে নিলাম, পরে নিয়ে ভেরি হ্যাপি, একটা ফ্ল্যাগ, পতাকা আমরা পড়লাম। বিরাট ইম্পর্টেন্ট লোক, এছাড়া কে পায়। সুতরাং we were very happy and joined the crowd. That is in nutshell what we learned on that particular day. But the most important fact, we had the opportunity to see Lord and Lady Mountbatten. এটাই হচ্ছে বড় কথা, ওটা না দেখলে লাইভ নষ্ট। Thank you very much for spending your time with us, and we appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay. Thank you for sharing that experience of yours. So we are lucky to hear from on that experience. With that, I'll request our President Jayanta Mukherjee to share a few words on this day. So Jayanta, over to you.
So thank you very much everyone for coming here. Happy 75th Independence Day for Indian Independence Day for all of you and all the people all over the world. And thank you very much to everyone who participated and who came. Next thing, we are going for the cake cutting. So we have a cake cutting, and let's do the cake cutting of our Independence Day cake. So are you guys ready? Vikas.
Be careful though.
Let all the kids come here.
এদিকে চলে যাও, পুষতে থাকে গেম জিতে দাও, চাইলে কেটে নিয়ে চলে যাও। डेलीगेशन को
All right, guys. Happy Independence Day. Thank you, everyone. Thank you everyone for being here. Appreciate a lot. With that, we have our a guest of honor on Zoom who's going to share his experience around history of India. So please stay back and listen to him. So thank you all. Thank you very much.
Should I should I start to speak or okay? I hope this is working. Hello, good morning. My name is Dipesh Chakrabarty, and Jayanto Mukhopadhyay suggested that I should speak in English, so I'm speaking in English from my home. The library behind me is actually a virtual background. It's a very ancient, about few hundred years old library from the German city of Halle, and it has some of the manuscripts of the famous Christian reformer, Martin Luther. So I just want to say a few words about our independence, and it is a little difficult because I can't see any of you, so I just hope we are connecting and this mechanism is working. So it was, first of all, I just wanted to mention some of the values we celebrate in celebrating Indian independence. The first value we celebrate, I think, is the value of democracy. Because India started, Republic of India, after independence, started her life as a democracy, but a democracy in India was I would say, a world historical experiment, because all the wisdom of the world actually said that you could not have a democracy in a country where most people were not only poor, but actually non-literate. The famous English philosopher John Stuart Mill had said in the 19th century that you cannot have universal adult franchise until you've had universal education. But Indian leaders were extremely adventurous, and I would say extremely forward-looking and generous in believing that the Indian people, even if they were not literate, all of them or most of them, they were quite capable of handling the vote and handling democracy. And this was actually a demand made by Gandhi from 1921 on, that India should have a democracy based on vote for every adult. While the British were there in the last elections we had, the last general elections we had, which was in 1937, 10 years before independence, the percentage of the adult population enfranchised was about 13 or 14%. So this was a tremendous leap in the dark. And when you look at the fact that of all the countries and nations that emerged as new nations in the 1940s and 1950s, in that period of decolonization, India is among the very few that have survived geographically intact. I mean, our neighbor Pakistan lost its eastern wing to the new nation of Bangladesh in 71. But apart from, some nibbling that the Chinese have done at our territories, India has more or less remained intact. And that shows that our leaders, whatever the internal political differences, must have done something right. Something must have worked about this country, which is so tremendously diverse. So the first value I think we celebrate is that of democracy. The second value we celebrate in celebrating democracy in a place like India is that of diversity. So the country has actually more than 500 languages. And there are so many languages waiting in the wings to be recognized as mainstream languages. And as people become more educated, people come into political power, people do well in their lives, the demand arises naturally that we have to recognize their language. So in my lifetime, for instance, Mundari became a language with a higher status when the state of Jharkhand was created, and the Department of Ranchi and the University of Ranchi actually opened a department for teaching Mundari literature. So we have more than 500 actual languages on the ground. Now, if you go back to read Nehru's autobiography, you would see that when he was writing his autobiography in the late 1930s, he thought there were 7 or 8 major languages. When India became independent, we were told there were 15 major languages. When I grew up in my 20s, I was told there are 22 or 23 major languages. The very fact that there are so many languages that get recognized speaks to the very diverse nature of Indian society. India has been the birthplace of 3 great religions, Hinduism, Buddhism, Sikhism, and has been the host for 2 other major religions, Christianity and Islam. India is a place where followers of Zoroastrianism, the Parsis, took refuge on the rise of Islam when they came to India as refugees from Iran and places. We had thriving communities of Jews in Cochin, for example, even in Calcutta, or Armenians. So this was a country where majority, minority, however you think of them, we had many religions, many different cultures, many different cuisines, many different costumes, many different languages. We've had them. And therefore, our leaders always tried to explore the question of unity in diversity. It didn't always work, because one of the tragic aspects of the partition of the independence is the partition of the country into 2 states. And it's particularly tragic for us Bengalis because we got divided between the Bengali-speaking people of Bangladesh and the Bengali-speaking people of West Bengal, apart from the Bengali-speaking people who are also in Tripura, Assam, and Manipur and other places. So the diversity is the second value we celebrate. The third value we celebrate is our sense of internationalism, our sense of being open to the world. The British came, ruled us. They ruled Bengal for 200 years, Punjab for 100 years. So it took them 100 years to actually get control of what became British India. And mind you, British India didn't include the native states. And many of the problems of that period still live on as legacies in our political life. Kashmir, for instance, Nagaland. So there have been some legacies of the kind of politics that the British developed around native states and what they call British India. But during this rule, we also embraced a lot of European culture into our lives. We embraced English as a major language in our lives, which is probably one reason why people of my generation or people of older generations could migrate so easily to English-speaking countries like England, America, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, and other places. Right? The English rule also, but what I'm emphasizing is that the value we celebrate is actually being open to the world, not being insular, and which is beautifully portrayed in Rabindranath's poem Bharat Tirtha, Ei Bharater Mahamanabir Sagore Tire, where the entire world comes and we embrace them. This also means out of this interaction has developed a tremendously vibrant domain of culture. Our culture is not only diverse, but also has wonderful, wonderful traditions of both performance arts, as well as writing, as well as filmmaking. And now, of course, Indians are making their name in animation arts and Bollywood. All these things, in fact, often, it seems to me that if you listen to Bollywood music, particularly Bombay Hindi film music, you will see all the musical traditions of the world, not just South Asia, come into the making of films for Bollywood. So I think Bollywood is extremely culturally symbolic of not only the diversity we have, but also of our openness to different traditions. And fourthly, I think we also are inheritors of the value of education, and that's an old value in India. To value education, we now make it more accessible to more people, and that, I think, is one reason why Indians have been so mobile, educated Indians, because it's our institutions like the IITs and the engineering colleges and the science education that actually prepares us to be global citizens. So particularly at a time when we are national citizens, but we're also global citizens, when the pandemic makes it so clear how connected we are and how connected and how global lives are, and that lives in America affect lives in Australia, affect lives in India. I think India prepares us to be global, and we should be grateful to both our institutions and the traditions for doing those things. At the same time, as I said, India is an unfinished experiment in democracy, because there are many different ideas about India. Tagore had one idea of India, Nehru had a slightly different idea of India, Subhash Chandra Bose had another slightly different idea of India, Gandhi had his own idea of India, Savarkar, the RSS, people who believe in Hindutva have their other kinds of ideas of India, and these ideas are in contestation. And because they're in contestation, India is always, the nature of Indian democracy is always an unfinished task. It's always an open question. We have still a lot to do on poverty, health, and nutrition. In fact, in most recent times, unfortunately, because of all kinds of reasons, India has actually slipped back on nutrition statistics. Indian children, the last survey shows that are actually getting less nutrition than they used to on an average. We have a long way to go on questions of caste equality, gender equality, on questions of sexuality. These are also unfinished tasks. And one of our inheritances is the thought of B.R. Ambedkar, the great leader of the Untouchables, who chaired the committee that wrote the Indian Constitution. The Indian Constitution, again, on its own, speaks to our openness, because it's a constitution that borrowed many of its fundamental principles from the French and the American Constitution. And it's one of the most radical documents in the world. We have a lot to do on the environment. Indian cities, see, our population has grown. Since independence, it's grown more than 4 times. And the cities have grown even more. So the cities are extremely crowded and extremely polluted, as you know. So there's a long way to go on, because pollution tells on people's health. And the environment is also important in the context of climate change and other things that are happening. But let me just say this, that as Bengalis, we are very proud to actually culturally possess some people who could not be partitioned, in spite of the partition of Bengal. One was, of course, Rabindranath Tagore. The other one was Kazi Nazrul Islam. And actually, on partition, Ananda Shankar Rai wrote a very famous poem saying, Bhag hoy na ko Nazrul, you can't divide him between 2 countries. And both of these people stood for all of the values that I actually spoke about. And I think that's the legacy we keep. We celebrate in coming together to remember the Independence Day, to remember the independence struggle. And with that, I'll conclude my presentation. Thank you, everybody. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Dipesh. Thank you for your time, and thank you for sharing that experience of yours. It's a valuable experience for us to hear and kind of take some of those into follow some of them. So thanks again for your time, and wish you all a very happy 75th Indian Independence Day. So with that, we're going to conclude the BAGC 75th Independence Day celebration. So thank you all for joining. So yeah, Bhaskarda, you want to? You're there, Bhaskarda?
Hey, Vidu, are we done?